She walked into the office every morning with quiet steps and a soft smile, dressed simply, never showing off, never demanding attention. Most people barely noticed her. Those who did often laughed behind her back. She probably lives in a tiny apartment with 10 cats. They'd whisper, chuckling at her thrift store shoes or plain homemade lunches. To them, she was just the shy woman in the corner, meek, ordinary, and forgettable. But what they didn't know was everything. Her name was Anna. She worked hard, stayed kind, and never let their cruel words break her. While her coworkers gossiped and played petty games, Anna stayed focused, quietly doing her job and helping others when no one else would. She never spoke about her personal life, not because she was ashamed, but because she didn't see the point in bragging. After all, love and loyalty meant more to her than status or luxury. But then one day, everything changed. It started with a surprise visit. A black car pulled up outside the office, and out stepped a man no one recognized, tall, confident, and sharply dressed. Whispers spread fast. Who is he? Is he a new investor? Why is he asking for Anna? What happened next turned the whole company upside down. Because that so-called simple woman they mocked and ignored. She was married to a billionaire, and he wasn't just there for a quick hello. He had come with a purpose, one that would shake every single person in that building. From quiet smiles to boardroom power plays, Anna's world was never what it seemed. And now the same people who laughed at her would soon find themselves at her mercy. But what did her husband really want? And why now? The answer will leave you stunned. Just a few years ago, Anna was working 2 jobs just to keep her mother's medical bills paid. She didn't come from wealth, and she never expected luxury. Her life had always been about hard work, honesty, and putting others first. That's what made her different. And maybe that's exactly what caught Daniel's eye the day they first met at a small bookstore downtown. Nothing flashy, just 2 people with quiet souls crossing paths. Daniel never introduced himself as a billionaire. He wore jeans, carried his own coffee, and spoke like a man who'd seen the world and chose simplicity over show. Anna liked that about him. They spent months getting to know each other before she even learned his full name. Daniel Carter, the founder of Carter Industries, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. But even when the truth came out, nothing really changed. Anna loved Daniel for who he was, not for what he owned. She never wanted special treatment. That's why, even after they got married, she asked him to keep their relationship private, especially from her coworkers. She wanted to earn her place, not be handed one. But Daniel had seen how they treated her from a distance. He knew the comments, the subtle jabs, the way they overlooked her. And it had been building for a while. So when he stepped into that office, it wasn't just a surprise visit. He had come with papers, ownership papers. The moment his name was revealed, faces turned pale. Whispers died out. Phones stopped ringing. Anna stood there, not smug, not angry, just calm. But behind her eyes, there was pain. And Daniel. He hadn't even started speaking yet. What he had to say next would change everything. Daniel stood in front of the entire staff, his voice calm but firm. "I've recently acquired full ownership of this company," he said, holding up the signed documents. "Effective immediately." The room fell into stunned silence. Anna stood beside him, eyes on the ground, her hands tightly clasped. No one dared say a word, not the manager who used to roll his eyes when she spoke in meetings, not the coworkers who mocked her outfits, not even the receptionist who once refused to share her birthday cake with Anna because she thought she wasn't part of the group. Whispers swirled like smoke. Why would a billionaire marry her? Was this some kind of setup? Was she part of the plan all along? The staff couldn't wrap their heads around it. But Daniel knew the truth. He had watched how Anna endured their cruelty day after day without ever stooping to their level. And that's what hurt him most, how people treated someone he loved just because she didn't shine the way they expected. Anna didn't want revenge. She just wanted to keep doing her job in peace. But that was no longer possible. Behind the scenes, the HR director scrambled to figure out what the new ownership meant. Some of the higher-ups started clearing out files. One ambitious team leader, who'd always seen Anna as weak, began plotting how to win Daniel's trust. He even invited Anna to lunch, for the first time ever. But she knew fake smiles when she saw them. Meanwhile, Daniel was going through department reports, employee histories, and internal emails. Quietly. Thoroughly, he wasn't looking to punish, but he wasn't looking to protect either. And then came the company meeting, one that would bring everything to light, because Daniel had found something that even Anna didn't know. Yet days passed, but the atmosphere inside the company grew heavier with every hour. Anna felt eyes on her like never before, some filled with guilt, others with envy, and a few with pure resentment. She tried to focus on her work, but whispers followed her through the halls. The subtle coldness that had surrounded her for years was now replaced by an almost unbearable tension. Daniel, meanwhile, kept digging. Late at night, he sat in his office reviewing files no one had dared to touch. What he found surprised him and worried him. There were hidden deals, secret emails, and decisions made behind closed doors that threatened not only the company's future, but the trust of everyone who worked there. Some of the people who had laughed at Anna were more involved in the company's problems than anyone suspected. Anna noticed subtle changes too. The team leader who once ignored her now tried too hard to get on Daniel's good side, sending messages full of empty praise. The HR director grew nervous, canceling meetings and avoiding questions. Even Anna's closest colleagues seemed torn between standing by her and protecting themselves. One afternoon, Daniel called an urgent meeting. The entire staff gathered in the conference room, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Daniel stood at the front, his face serious but unreadable. He didn't speak at first. Instead, he scanned the room, locking eyes with people who had been so quick to judge Anna. Then he spoke, his voice steady but carrying the weight of everything he'd uncovered. There are things happening here that go beyond personal feelings. They threaten the very foundation of this company. Everyone waited, breath held, hearts pounding. What was he about to reveal? Would Anna's secret finally come out? Or was Daniel about to expose something much darker? In that moment, the whole office held its breath, ready for the truth, but terrified of what it might mean. Daniel took a slow breath before continuing, his eyes never leaving the crowd. I discovered something even more troubling. Someone here has been working against the company, deliberately sabotaging projects, leaking information to competitors. A ripple of shock ran through the room. Faces that once sneered at Anna now looked anxious, searching for answers. Who could it be? Anna felt her heart tighten. She had hoped the chaos would pass quietly, but now the stakes were higher than ever. The woman who was once mocked as simple was suddenly at the center of a storm far bigger than anyone imagined. Daniel's words cast suspicion over everyone, and the office that had felt like a battlefield before now seemed like a cage closing in. The team leader who had been trying to win Daniel's favor shifted nervously in his seat. The HR director glanced toward the exit as if weighing the option to run. Whispers broke out, but Daniel raised his hand, demanding silence. This betrayal goes beyond office politics. It threatens jobs, livelihoods, and the future of this company. His voice was steady but cold, leaving no room for doubt. Anna looked around, seeing the faces of people she had shared years with. some who had treated her cruelly, others who had quietly supported her. But now, all of them seemed caught in the same net of suspicion and fear. No one was safe from the fallout. Then Daniel paused, pulling out a folder thick with evidence. "I have proof," he said quietly. "But I won't reveal names until I'm certain." The room held its breath again. The question wasn't just about Anna anymore. It was about trust, betrayal, and how far some would go to protect their own secrets. The real game had only just begun. Daniel slowly opened the folder, pulling out documents, emails, and financial records that painted a clear picture of betrayal. "The person responsible is someone close to the leadership team," he said, voice low but firm. "They've been siphoning money, leaking trade secrets, and undermining key projects for months." All eyes turned toward the team leader who had been so eager to impress Daniel. His confident mask slipped, replaced by a flicker of panic. Anna watched silently, feeling a mix of vindication and sorrow. The cruel jokes, the cold shoulders, they were all part of something much bigger than her. Daniel stepped forward, locking eyes with the man. "You're finished." Before the accused could respond, the HR director stood up, her face pale but determined. "Wait," she said, "there's more." She handed Daniel a sealed envelope. "I found this in my office, safe this morning. Proof that someone else has been manipulating things behind the scenes. Someone who wanted to frame the team leader." The room went silent again. Daniel opened the envelope, revealing a series of emails between a high-ranking executive and a competitor. The plot was deeper, darker, and more twisted than anyone expected. Anna's breath caught. The very people she had trusted were tangled in lies. Suddenly, Daniel turned to Anna. "I never told you everything about why I really bought this company," he admitted quietly. "It wasn't just to protect you. It was because I suspected this corruption from the start. And I needed you here to help me see the truth." Anna's eyes widened. She realized her simple life had been anything but simple. As the room buzzed with shock and confusion, one last message pinged on Daniel's phone. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, "This isn't over." Asterisk. The battle had only just begun. The room remained tense for a moment longer after the text message appeared on Daniel's phone. But then slowly the weight began to lift. Daniel looked at Anna and smiled, a quiet, grateful smile that spoke volumes. "We'll handle this together," he said softly. Anna took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and resolve. The woman they had once mocked wasn't just a simple employee anymore. She was a partner in something much bigger. Over the following weeks, the company went through a series of changes. The corrupt executives were removed, and new leadership committed to honesty and transparency was brought in. Anna's calm strength and integrity earned her respect, and her coworkers began to see her in a new light, not as the quiet woman in the corner, but as someone who stood strong under pressure. Daniel and Anna worked side by side, rebuilding trust and focusing on the company's future. She never asked for special treatment, but her voice carried more weight now, because it came from experience, courage, and a genuine heart. The simple woman who had been mocked was no longer invisible. She had become the company's quiet force. But beyond the boardroom drama, Anna and Daniel's story reminded everyone of a bigger truth. That kindness, resilience, and staying true to yourself can quietly change everything, even when the world doubts you. As the company stabilized, Anna reflected on how far she'd come. She was still the same person at heart, but now with a new confidence born from overcoming hardship and betrayal. The real power, she realized, wasn't wealth or status. It was the strength to keep going, no matter what others say. And while the message saying, "This isn't over," lingered in the background, Anna and Daniel knew one thing for sure. Their story was just beginning.